What's up guys, Brandon here from Gearist. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Range MIPS snow helmet from Giro. You know, pretty much all helmets these days, whether it's a snow helmet or a cycling helmet or an equestrian helmet, what they're using to tighten and to keep the helmet on the head in terms of adjustability is a halo tensioning system. Basically, there's usually a little dial at the back of the head, in some cases on top of the crown of the helmet, where when you turn it, it's going to tighten a band of kevlar or steel, some cases, that goes around the head and kind of tightens like this. So one of the things that's a challenge with that is working out the comfortability of such a thing. And one of the things that Giro made their point in this helmet right here was not just tightening based on that halo, but rather changing the entire shape of the helmet without compromising comfort and, more importantly, safety. First, let's talk about the materials and how this guy is put together. One of the first things that we notice about this is that usually Giro or other companies will use EPS foam, which is that foam, it's kind of it's the foam of the helmet. In this case, we've got a hard shell construction with EPP foam. Now, if you push on it, you'll notice there's some resilience to it. It's not quite like a soft shell helmet, some of the other things we've seen from Giro that have that soft shell aspect. This is just kind of like an EPS foam, but it's got a little more give to it, so there's a little more bounce. Part of the reason for this is that EPP being more flexible fits really well into the kind of ethos of what this helmet is about, and that is flexibility and conforming to the head. The shell of this helmet is made of two pieces. Now, you might think it's three pieces. I'll tell you why in a minute, but it is only two main pieces. The first piece is this piece we see right here. It starts around this crown, kind of goes back all the way to the back of the helmet right here, and then you can see these two seams, one here and one here. Well, this piece that makes up the outer side of that seam rather comes up, goes around the crown of the brow of the helmet right there, and then back down behind the ear on the other side. So basically two pieces that make up the shell of the Range MIPS. Built in the shell of this helmet, you've got 12 vents overall. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Now, of these, 6 are closable with this guy right here to adjust for variable weather conditions, opening it to allow a little more air through or to close it down to keep the air inside. And then for exhaust vents, these 4 back here, what let that stale or hot air out of the helmet when you want to clear things out and keep it nice and comfortable inside. The final 2 vents right here, these vents up here, I'll show you when I put this on with goggles. Those are stacked venting system, which are going to allow the top vent on the rim of the goggle there to actually put that air straight up and out of the helmet instead of creating this closed unit, which is going to make kind of stale air in there and then potentially wind up with fogged up goggles. All of this makes this thing right here a very low profile helmet relative to other snow helmets, even relative to other snow helmets from Giro. And I'm gonna go ahead and put it on real quick and then I'll take it back off and tell you guys some more about it. You can see that relative to other snow helmets, this actually fits pretty darn close to the head. I mean, it's really astounding, just it's not quite the mushroom thing that we're used to in a lot of helmets. So it's a very, very close to the head fit, and it's a great look to boot. Now, internally, Giro uses an X-static lining, which is meant to be antimicrobial by the embedded features, the embedded fabrics in there, and it's going to keep the stank away even after long days. I've worn this, I want to say like 7, 8 days. Some of those were actually pretty hard days of really kind of trying to get myself out of some waist deep snow in some glades and things like that. And regardless of the sweat that I've put on this, it did a nice job. There is no stank at all. It's really very impressive. Also internally, and this is why this guy is called the Range MIPS, that little button right there, which is not a button, it's just a sticker. This has MIPS inside. MIPS stands for Multi-Directional Impact Protection System. But what is it? Well, here's a little diagram I'll show you while I talk about it. First, we can see the outer shell of the helmet, the actual helmet itself. Internally, you see attached to that helmet kind of a secondary liner, and those little yellow things that are attaching one to the other are elastomeric little binding pieces. What happens in the event of an impact is that this allows the head to move independent from the helmet, or rather the helmet to move independent of the head, which slows the impact time. And a lot of the lab testing that MIPS has out there is really indicative of this being incredibly safe relative to other protection systems that are out there. This does a great job of really keeping down the head and neck trauma that take place in any sort of an impact. And I will say that it is a little hard in our super highly technical testing facilities, which is basically my head, to test this. You can easily go to the MIPS website and check that out. We'll put a link right down here. You guys can check it out. Go to the MIPS website and you can see all kinds of impact test versions and impact testing things and slow motion videos and what have you, showing you exactly how this operates in a helmet and the stress forces it puts, especially rotational forces, on the head and neck. Rounding out the external construction of this guy is the goggle retention strap. You see right here, a little external elastic. You just pop your goggles under there and just buckle it over. Really easy peasy, easy to work with. One thing that I will mention about this, and I'm going to get into the fit system in a second, which is what's so cool about this when we talk about fit, but one thing I'm going to mention relative to the ear pads here. Now, my ears, and I've come to terms with this since I'm 38 years old, it's been a while, nothing's going to change, my ears stick out a bit. And as I'm out there for a long day in the snow, or pretty much even if I'm just wearing a hat, with my ears, if my ears get pinned back, that begins to feel very uncomfortable over time. And by over time, I mean that even in a hat, after about 6-7 hours in a beanie hat or something like that, my ears are going to get a little bit sore. One of the things that this does is it kind of speeds up that process. Not a lot, it's not a huge deal, and if your ears have never been uncomfortable or anything, don't worry about it. But I've noticed that if it takes usually 6 hours for my ears to kind of hurt in a normal helmet, this, because the entire shell comes in and it brings the ear pads with it, takes probably about 5 hours. So it's a little speedier with the ears getting uncomfortable. But again, that is very, I feel like, unique to me. But if you've got a problem like that, if you've ever had a problem with that, I'd love to hear your story down in the comments below. Now for probably the coolest part of this helmet for me, and that is the fit system, which Giro calls conform fit. The way this works is that right here at the base of the helmet, they've got an embedded, it's like built into the shell, if you can see right there, adjustment wheel. That is called Giro's Inform Fit 2 adjustment system. Now the way this whole system works is that this center piece of the helmet right here, this center kind of piece of the shell, that acts as sort of a backbone to the helmet. And what happens is, as this wheel is turned, the entire shell from the outside, both these pieces, go like this inward, and they go under that centerpiece. You can see maybe there how it kind of underlays that piece. It's a really cool piece of technology that allows up to 6 centimeters of adjustability. And here's what it looks like. If you crank it down, you can see them start to close up and close up and close up. And as I get down there, you can see that they're pretty much pressed all the way together. It's a really ingenious fit system. I love the way it feels because you can feel it just hugging your head, and kind of the whole helmet going like this around your head is a really unique feeling. The Range MIPS also has a good deal of vertical adjustment internally, so if you've got a larger framed goggle, or frameless but a larger lens goggle, it's going to be able to rotate back just a little bit, still keep you safe because the fit system is still going to lock in there. For sizing, I went with a large, typical to my big ass head, but if you kind of find yourself on the cracks between a medium and a large, or you're in between two sizes there, I think that because this has so much adjustability, generally speaking, now of course this is not a blanket statement, but generally speaking, you'll be just as comfortable in the larger size as the smaller size, so keep that in mind. The final thing I'll point out relative to the fit is this buckle right here. Now we've seen this in a couple different iterations, it's called different things, a lot of people are using this these days. In this version, in a lot of their helmets, Giro's calling this their fid lock. Basically there's a magnet on this side, there's a magnet on this side, so even if you're wearing gloves, all you've got to do is put it close to one another, and bam, you're buckled in there, holds nice and tight. Really easy to use, very comfortable to use with gloves on, with gloves off, even with numb fingers, things like that. And of course, you've got this nice plush chin guard on the chin strap there to keep you nice and comfortable. The final thing I should mention is that the ear pads are audio compatible, so whether you have a corded or a USB system, you can slide those chips or what have you right down to the ear pads and maintain touch, or if you want to listen to music or a podcast, that's also out there for you. So how did this guy perform? As I mentioned a moment ago, it is really tough to do true crash testing with this without sacrificing my own head. So we're just going to assume that Giro has done their due diligence and that this guy performs like a dream when crashed. But as far as the rest of the performance, I have to say that this thing is really sitting at the top of my list this year for snow helmets. Extremely comfortable. I love the way that the whole entire thing, again, conform, as you would think, by the way it's called the conform fit, really conforms to the head and keeps you very, very comfortable. It's a really great way to keep from getting, you get that kind of indentation around here and it just basically becomes uncomfortable. But in this, I've really noticed, or it can become uncomfortable, but in this, I've noticed that it stays comfortable long days out there. No hot spots in the head. The venting is really excellent, and the padding inside the helmet is actually very complimentary of that conform fit as well, and not making it kind of buckle or anything like that. The last thing that I'll mention about this helmet that I'm going to show you in a picture rather than on the helmet because it won't really work, is its inclusion of a GoPro mount that comes with the goggle. Now you can see this little slot right here. Well, this thing right here goes into that slot and allows you to mount a GoPro or other action camera direct to the front of this helmet. Now, what's great about that is that taking it on and off isn't really a matter of unscrewing or screwing anything. You just simply pull on it and it comes out, but it's, you know, it's got some, you have to put some oomph behind it, otherwise it would just fly off if you did eat it or when you eat it. But in this case, it's really just a very great integrated part of this helmet. As I mentioned, I would show you guys how this fits with goggles on, and this goggle that I have right here is actually also by Giro. This is called the Contact. Really cool goggle that we'll be talking about very soon. You can see right here that it's got actually kind of a larger frame and it fits really well. And again, not a ton of mushroom head. You can see me from the side there, just very, very comfortable. Locked down, that conform fit in the back, and it's just really a great fit. One of the things that I will say about this is that this helmet comes in at a pretty high price tag. It is the flagship of Giro's snow helmet line, and it comes in at $240. Now that is pricey, but this thing has a buttload of bells and whistles, and we've also found it. If you check those buy links down in the description of this video or on our website, you can see where we found it for about $180, which is a really solid price. I mean, think about it. This is a helmet that's going to theoretically, unless you crash into a rock or something, last you quite a while. So yeah, it's expensive, but the fit is unparalleled. No one's got a fit like that, and it's going to be something that's going to keep you comfortable. It's going to remain stink-free. It's going to have a great amount of adjustability, and it's going to just be a solid looking piece. So all these things combined mean that $100 or $240 or $180, if you can find that deal, is really not that bad when you break it out macroeconomically. If you're spending a long day on the snow and comfort and safety are those big things that you're looking for out there, not just a helmet to throw on your head, this is definitely something to consider. Yeah, again, a little bit pricey, but it's well worth it in my opinion, and easily something you should have on. Now we've got our question of the day coming in a second, but before we get to that, please subscribe to our channel, you guys. That is a huge help to us, and don't forget that every time you buy something through one of the buy links that we're looking at, or one of the buy links that's down in the description of this video or elsewhere, those help us. It doesn't cost you anymore, and in most cases we're shopping for the best deal for you, but those retailers you buy from, whether it's Amazon or REI or what have you, every time you buy through those links, they give us a little kickback, and it's a really nice thing and a nice way to help support Gearist. Now our question of the day for you guys is that since this helmet is a little more pricey, a lot of that could be due to the technology. Once again, whether it's a bike helmet, a snow helmet, or whatever kind of helmet, where would you be willing to pay? What would you be willing to pay for that type of advanced technology? Let us know down in the comments section below. Guys, thanks so much for joining us today. If you've got any questions at all, don't hesitate to email info@gearist.com or just leave a comment down in the comment section below, or you can visit gearist.com, click that contact us link, and let us know what's up. As always, don't forget to follow us on all our social media outlets, which you can see on my right, your left, including our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, my Strava, and as always, subscribing to our YouTube channel. That would mean a lot. Thank you guys once again so much for spending a few minutes with us today, and we will see you next time.